Hello everyone. This is another issue that I've been grappling with over the past couple of days, so I figured I'd make a video. Basically what happened was you have these pull strings for fans, ceiling fans, one that controls the light, another one that controls the speed of the fan. Well, one of my kids actually broke the string or the chain. And basically I was stuck that they couldn't, in a way that they couldn't control the fan speeds anymore. So figured we would take this as an opportunity to convert the fan, the switch or the control of the fan to a remote. And what I ended up doing was purchasing this particular thing called the Hampton remote switch. Basically, as you can see on the buttons here, there's the on-off switch, the control for the fan speed, the light control. You can put in a timer, you can make it random, and it's got a little battery that controls, sends signals to the receiver in the fan. Now, this, even though it's on the wall plate, it's got no connection whatsoever to the actual wires for the fan. So basically, it's simply a matter of just mounting it on the plate. But I'll show you how the assembly into the fan works, and I'll also show you some of the things I encountered, because with the pull chain gone, there was one thing you have to make an adjustment on to be able to use this switch to what it's supposed to be doing. So the conditions for this switch to work is obviously the fan should have been running at full speed before the chain broke. In my case, the fan was running at speed number 2 before the chain broke. And I'll show you how I bypassed that particular situation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to remove the fan ceiling enclosure. All right, folks. So basically this is the receiver that you see here. This is what collects the signals from the transmitting wall plate that you saw there. And apologies, I had already done the work yesterday, so I didn't think about having to make a video about this. But the setup is pretty simple. Basically what you have here is you have the receiver switch that takes in the power from the circuit, and it has 3 wires. Actually, there's 4 wires in total, but for the receiver itself, there's a white, a black, and a blue wire, okay? And these wires go straight to the fan. The white wire is neutral. The black wire goes to the fan motor, and the blue wire goes to control the lights. So that's the explanation for the wires. Once again, blue for the lights, white for neutral, and black for the motor. So basically what you do is there's these color wires coming from the receiver. You just attach them to the same wires that are going back to the fan. Okay, so all the receiver does is if you turn on the fan, it's the black wire that gets active. If you turn on the light, it's the blue wire that gets active. And the speed of the fan will be controlled through the black wire, which I'll explain in a bit. On the other side, you have the power supply coming away from the house, or the circuit in the house. So in this particular case, I've got the red wires. That is the live wire, and I've got the white wires, that's the neutral wire. So this is the power coming from the house and going into the receiver. It does not go into the fan. Notice that the wires are going into the receiver on this end, and the receiver then decides, based on your control, where it sends the power to the fan, light, or both. Yeah, so simple enough. Live, neutral from the house circuit, goes to the receiver. And like I said, I already wired this before. The receiver already comes pre-wired. The wires stick out. And the other side of the receiver, the color-coded wires go into the fan. In this particular case, the receiver also has this little It's not very clear, sorry about that. You can see those three little switches, 4 switches. Those allow you to modify what your wireless signal is going to be. If you have more than one of these controllers or other controllers, you can change the position of the switches so that it doesn't interfere with other units. Okay, so that's the story about the receiver. Basically, once you're done, you just put the receiver into the slot, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. You can see what I did now. Basically, I had the receiver here. I'm just pushing it into this notch in between the that holds, the fan. So there's some space there. Basically, put it in. You can see the antenna here. That's to go to get signals. And I forgot to mention, not that you have anything to do with this. There's a green wire here, you can see here, that gets connected to the ground wire that is here for the grounding effect from the fan to the ground of the house. So you can see the green. Unfortunately, it's at such an angle I can't show it clearly. But again, this should have already been in place. You don't have to touch it for the receiver connections. Now I'm going to show you the adjustment bit. So this is basically the light fan combination. You can see the obviously light bulbs here. I'm going to open this because it's got the pull switch controls for the light and the fan on this side. Unfortunately, I had taken care of it yesterday, so you won't see it. But generally, depending on how far your chain is broken, it would have come out through here into this hole out here and down. But in my case, I'd taken it off. So the key here is, like I mentioned, the receiver controls the black wire, blue wire, white wire. And for it to control the lights, it does you no good if this switch is in the off position. Let's assume you had no receiver to begin with. If this was in the off position, what will happen is the switch, even though it shows on, it would still be blocked by the light switch here being in off position. So you need this light switch to be on. So if possible, if the light switch chain is not broken, before you do all the transmitter receiver fitting, make sure this light switch is in the on position, so that at least, so that when you put the switches and everything in place, it has full access to the closed, light switch. Same deal with the fan, but the difference is the fan has 3 speeds, and you want to make sure that the fan was set at the highest speed, before you start making these changes. But in my case, what happened, like I said, was before the switch broke, the fan was in the medium speed. So what happened was, even though the receiver is telling the fan to go at full speed, there's still control here that is still telling it to go at the second speed. So basically what you want to do is allow this switch to be at full speed, so that then the full control is with the receiver over there that says you can go full speed, mid speed, low speed. I'll show you how we change that, even though the chain was broken. Okay, now what I did was I opened that case that you just saw, and I'm going to explain a little bit. Basically, to play around or to control the chain switch here, you can see the chain for the light in this case go in here. In order to remove the chain, you just unscrew this, and that's what I did for the fan switch, but you can see it's easily unscrewable. So basically you remove that, and the same deal for the fan side, but like I said, unfortunately I'd already done this yesterday, so can't show you how I did it. But the important thing is, let me show you what I did to get the fan back to full control. There's a bunch of things here. Basically this is a capacitor, I believe. I pulled it down, and what you can see, okay, so bear with me, I'm going to try to see how I can explain this. Basically what you see here, these were the wires that control the fan. the speed. So there's a black wire. It might be a different color for your fan, but there was a black wire that comes out from the power supply. All these things would go to a rotary switch here, but I don't have that rotary switch. I don't know if it's not called a rotary, but it's a fan switch. It's like a circle, and basically it had the gray wire, the green wire, and the brown wire all connected to that switch. Okay? So depending on how you pulled the chain, the power from the black would go to the gray or the green or the brown, and that is what controlled this fan speed. Now remember, when somewhere during the video I said you want to make sure that the fan is running at the highest speed position for the receiver to get full control. And there were numbers on that switch, 1, 2, 3, L being live, 1, 2, 3 being the different speeds. Ultimately, what I did was the gray wire was tied to speed number 1, which I assumed was the highest speed. All I did was, you can notice, you'll see, I connected the black and the gray wire. I disconnected the gray wire from the rotary switch, connected the black wire, so it is on speed 1, or the highest speed all the time. The other 2 wires, since I didn't want the rotary switch here anymore because it wasn't serving any purpose, I simply cut them and capped them off. Right? So this was, for me, the biggest learning was, how do you get the fan to highest speed when you don't have the chain anymore? And this is how I did it. Connect the live wire here to the highest speed wire of the switch. And now the receiver has full control of the fan, full control of the light, because the light you've already switched to the on position. And now you just put it all back in and use the remote switch. I'll talk about that in a second. So now that the installation is done, I want to call out again, this part of the switch is like a remote transmitter. It does not need to be connected to any of the wires in the back. In my particular case, this had a switch like this before. In my particular case, I just removed the switch, tied up the wires because I wanted this to be the fan to be on all the time. And now the switch is simply a remote control. It connects to the receiver that I just showed. So it does not need to connect anywhere else. So in this case, I have a Hampton Bay switch, but I read online on the comments that, you know, these are compatible. I mean, it works for me for the most part. So in this case, I'm switching on the light. And lights on. Fan has multiple controls. When I hit it, it obviously moves. Something neat about this control that I saw here was it had timer, where you could have the fan run for 2, 4, or 8 hours and then switch off by itself. It also has a random setting that allows the fan to run at 3, 2, 1 speeds randomly, so it feels as if you're, you know, in a natural or outside setting with the wind blowing at multiple speeds. All right, folks, that's about it. Like I said, for me, the issue was figuring out how to get the fan at full speed, even though the switch was broken. But aside from that, this is a lot better than having to look at those chains and pull them and figure out what speed it's on and so on. Thank you. Because I didn't have the rotary with the switch to show you, this is how it kind of looks. In my case, it was green, but you can see the wires, 4 wires. One is the live wire, and the other are the speed control wires. So basically, I detached them from the controller, or the switch rather, and I picked the high speed wire with the live wire, and then put them together. That's how the fan will be running at high speed, unless the receiver tells it otherwise. Sorry, I had to pick this photo from here so you could see it. Goes without saying, because I know most of you, for the folks that are watching this video, are probably handy people. But I still want to call out that before you do any of this work with live wires, make sure the breaker's off for that room, that has got the fan in. Just telling you to be safe. Thank you.